Hello, it's Jelena from the Best Vinyl Cutters. I am so excited about today's tutorial. It is all about Infusible ink transfer sheets. So much fun to work with, and we are going to make a really cool shirt. So if you're going to follow exactly the same steps as me, this is a shirt that you will be creating. So cool, right? This is a shirt I made for my twin daughter. She's 11 years old, so she really loves it. So let's have a bit of a talk about the supplies that you need if you would like to do Infusible ink. So first of all, obviously you need your blank. Now, Infusible ink is meant to go on high polyester shirts or materials, fabrics. So the higher the percentage, the more vibrant your ink is going to be. So you need to make sure that it's a high percentage polyester shirt. My shirt is a Cricut one. I highly recommend, if this is your first project, to just start off with the Cricut ones. They were designed and created especially for Infusible ink, and you know for a fact that it will work perfectly. So of course it is Cricut, it is going to be a bit more pricey than shirts that you can get elsewhere. So when you do your next projects, you might want to have a look at trying to source some high polyester shirts from somewhere else. Now I have got a Cricut Cheat Sheet book, if you own that. In there is a whole entire sheet of non-Cricut blanks that you can use for Infusible ink, and it will tell you my top favorite brands that I love working with. Now, you need to be careful. I see a lot of people work with Infusible ink and they do it on a cotton shirt and it washes out super quickly, and they get frustrated and they think the problem is with Infusible ink. So stay away from the cotton shirts. It's not going to give you the same effect unless you do a few tips and tricks, which I'm not going to get into today because it's quite a bit more of an advanced thing. So for today, make sure it's a high polyester shirt. So I think Cricut is 95% polyester, so that might give you an idea. On top of that, obviously we also need your Infusible ink. Now we're going to be working with the transfer sheets today. You can also get the ink pens, the Infusible ink pens. But for today, we're focusing on how to actually use the Infusible ink transfer sheets. So you get them in such incredibly beautiful, stunning colors and patterns. Honestly, it is so cool. It's one of the reasons why I love Infusible ink, because you can't really do the same thing with vinyl. And of course, Infusible ink sits in the shirt. It's not layered on top of the shirt, so it becomes one with the shirt, and to me it just looks a lot more professional, like you've bought this in the shops. It's really awesome, very lightweight as well. So you can grab either patterns or you can even get solid colors of Infusible ink. Today I'm going to use the Galaxy one. So whoa, let me put these down. So I'm going to be using, it's called Galactic Stars, and it's got 4 different sheets in there. So when you buy a box of Infusible ink, it's going to come wrapped up in a black wrapper like that. So you need to open that up. Before you do, you need to make sure that your hands are super clean and dry. So go and wash them and dry them and make sure that you have got clean, dry hands. That's why it's protected, because they're trying to tell you this sheet doesn't like to be touched very much. So we're going to try and not touch it too much, but of course you have to touch it to weed it and actually do a few things to it. But for the most part, make sure your hands are clean before you use it. Otherwise, all that oil and moisture will actually get onto the sheet and interfere with the transfer, which is not what we want. So inside your box, you get quite a few different handy bits and pieces. You get your ink transfer sheets, of course, and you'll notice that it feels very different to vinyl. It's a lot more like a thick paper than an actual vinyl. It feels very different. It's much stiffer than a vinyl as well. It still comes with a liner sheet. So you've got the one side, which is your pattern, and you've got your other side, which is the actual liner sheet. And I'll show you how to use all of this in a minute. On top of that, you will also get butcher paper in your box. Here's my butcher paper, there it is. So inside your rolls, so look out for this, is the butcher paper that you will need for your heat process. So we need this butcher paper, so grab one of those. They give you 4 for the 4 sheets, and then they will also give you a lint cloth, which is really handy if you're working with the coasters and those sorts of things. So I like that they give you a lot of what you need in the box, and that you don't have to go and buy all of those things additionally. I didn't know that when I bought my very first box. I actually went out and bought butcher paper, which I in the end didn't need. So it's helpful to know that it's actually in your box. It's there for you. All right, so decide which infusible ink sheet you would like to use today. Next up, we need a few other things. So you will also need a piece of cardstock, or if you don't have, it has to be a white cardstock, or you can just use some printer paper, but use a few of them, like 2 or 3 of them. So this is going to protect your heat press mat so that we don't accidentally get ink on it. So make sure that it's big enough to go inside your blank. So if we're working with a shirt, we're actually going to put it inside. So I'm going to use a 12 by 12 inch white cardstock to do that. Then we need the green standard grip mat. So this one is the one we use for vinyl. It's the one we're going to use for the infusible ink as well. Then you need heat tape. So infusible ink is not sticky the way that iron-on vinyl is. So iron-on vinyl kind of has a stickiness to it so that when you put it on the shirt, it stays in place. Infusible ink doesn't have that, and it tends to curl up and it can move around. So you need heat tape, right? Which it's tape that can handle high heat. And we're going to use that to basically make sure that we get it flattened out and keep it exactly where we want it. So without this, it's really quite frustrating and tricky to work with. So make sure you've got some heat tape. We need a lint roller. And truth be told, I'm making this video after I made the shirts. That's why I have the shirt to show you, and I forgot to use the lint roller. So make sure that you use the lint roller. Do as I say, not as I do. That's what they say, right? So we want to remove any threads that's on top of the shirt, because of course your ink will settle on the thread, and if that thread lifts up off the shirt, it's going to have a white no ink section. So you would preferably want to use your lint roller to go over the shirt and just remove all of those loose threads so that you can get the perfect look. I am lucky enough that my shirt didn't really have lint on it anyways, and it came out perfectly even though I didn't use this, but it's worth the extra step. We need scissors to trim down your infusible ink so that we can save all of those little excess pieces. You need tweezers because we're going to lift off the infusible ink while it's still pretty hot. And if you don't like burnt fingers, you're going to need something to grab it and pull it up. And I like my tweezers for that. I also use my brayer to try and smooth it out over the mat so that I don't touch it when I don't need to. If you don't have one of these, again, just make sure your hands are clean and dry and you'll be okay. But I love my brayer. I use it a lot. It's a very handy tool to have. And then of course we need the EasyPress. So the idea with infusible ink is that we want to apply heat to it that doesn't move. So with iron-on vinyl, you can do a big iron-on design that's bigger than your EasyPress, and you can do it in sections. You can do your piece there and then there in quadrants, right? It's not recommended to do that with infusible ink. So what we want to make sure is whatever EasyPress you have, make sure that you know how big the plate is, because your design should be smaller than your plate, so that we can put the EasyPress down over your design and not move it at all. Movement is going to make the ink move, and we don't really want to do that if we can prevent it. So that is why it's super important to make sure that it's smaller than your plate of your press. Okay, you can do this with a mini press, and the tip that they say is that you should constantly move it. So just don't stop, because if you stop, it's going to be maybe potentially a bit brighter in that section than somewhere else. So you need to constantly move it in that case, but you're not going to get as perfect of a design as you would with a bigger press and no movement. So I know that's a big mouthful, and of course I'm going to walk you through all of these things when we're doing the actual project, so don't worry about it too much, but just make sure that we're going, but just make sure that your design is smaller than your plate of your press. And you really do need a heat mat. When you work with iron-on vinyl, you can use a folded towel, but when you are working with Infusible ink, we really want the mat. The mat's smooth, the mat can hold in your heat a bit better, and it's just a lot sturdier than a towel that has got textures. And I think that's it. I am going to, before we hop into the Cricut Design Space, I am going to just quickly show you my book for if you're interested. So this is one of our most popular books, and it's got 80 cheat sheets in it. But what I want to talk about is a section that's all about Infusible ink that's in here, and it's really super handy sheets to have next to you when you're working with Infusible ink. You can purchase the whole entire book. It's our best-selling book, but you can also just grab that little section of Infusible ink cheat sheets if you would like from Etsy for a lot cheaper if you don't have the money to invest in the whole entire book. But of course, if you don't want to purchase anything, Cricut has got a really good heat guide on their website, and they've got loads of handy tutorials as well of how to use the Cricut Infusible ink sheets. You just need to take the time, obviously, to go and do some Googling. I find this a lot easier. So let's quickly have a look at the book, and then what we're going to do is to hop into Cricut Design Space so that I can show you how to actually create this, both the paint swipe or paint smear as well as the kind is cool. Both of those are from Cricut Design Space, so you can easily whip those up. And I've also given you the link so that you can just click on it and you can actually use this specific SVG, and you don't even have to create it. It will take you straight to Cricut Design Space, and it will have my design there ready and waiting for you. All right, cool. So let's just have a quick look at my cheat sheets. As you can see, I've got one here, everything you wanted to know about Infusible ink. I compare Infusible ink to iron-on, so if you don't know which one to use, that one's going to be handy. How to use the Cricut Infusible ink transfer sheets. This one's all about the pens. Here is the sheet that I was talking about that's got all the non-Cricut blanks on it that you can use. Some best practices, things that you need to avoid doing. And then I've also got your EasyPress settings, as well as how to actually stack your things as well. So super cool sheet to have. Of course, you can find this on the internet as well, but I just really love having the paper version, and that way I don't have to waste time going and searching and hunting for information. So you can grab this from Etsy if you would like just this little pack, or if you would like all 80 sheets that comes in the book, you can grab that link in the description below as well. So it's got everything on here step by step that we're going to follow in this video tutorial, and that way I don't have to remember everything. Okay, so we are in Cricut Design Space, and we are going to very quickly create this SVG. So as I've already said, you can simply click on a link and it's going to bring you straight to this so that you can just use it as is. But let's say you wanted to do something different and change the wording, then I'll just quickly show you how I created this version so that you can go and play with all the other versions. So first things first, let me open a new window here. And what we need to do is to find that paint smear or paint splash or whatever it's called. And I find that it's actually really hard to find that image. So you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. So we're clicking on images here on the left hand side, and we want to find a paint smear. So let's try that. And it doesn't do a very good job of finding paint smears in my opinion. It's bringing up all sorts of other things like the word paint, etc. So what you can do is you can have a bit of a browse, and you can see that there are some paint splashes here. Here is a bit of a paint smear. They called it a paint spot, that one. Here is one that is quite popular. Quite a few people use this paint swipe. So that's one that you could use if you don't like how busy the one is that I've used, but you kind of like the idea of having a paint look. You've got some round ones. So I'm just gonna, I know that mine is not at the top, so I'm gonna browse a bit faster here. But you can find really quite interesting ones, which is really, really cool. And then you can add whatever words or shapes or whatever you want into them, and it just really elevates your design and takes it to a new level. Even that one there, that's really a really cool one to use on tote bags and all of those sorts of things as well. So you can have a bit of a browse. Here's another really cool one. And what you can also do is you can click on the information button here, and you can actually see the other images that comes in this set. So I like the look of that one. I can click on view image set, and then I can have a look at what other images this guy has got. This is one of my favorite circle ones. I absolutely love that one. So if you wanted to use a circle one, and here is the one that we wanted to use. So what you can also do is actually to insert this number into the search box, and it will take you straight to that design. So I will pop that number in the description at the bottom as well, so that you can just copy it and just paste it. And that way, if you just come to the search box and you just put in the hashtag with the numbers and you click on search, it's going to bring you to this one, and it's just a lot easier than getting lost in all the other things. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to go insert. And now what we can do is to have a bit of a look at the orientation of the design. So I don't want to use it this way because I want to use it in a landscape way. So what I'm going to do is to rotate it around a bit to see how I would like it to look. So you can have a bit of a play if you want to have it that way, or do you like it more if it's this way around? So there's no right and there's no wrong. It's honestly up to what do you like the look of. And then we need to find the words that we would like to pop inside, of course. So I'm going to go back to images. I wanted to find something with the word kind in it. That's how I went about it. And then I just had a bit of a look at what was already created. So of course you can use the text tool and you can just create it yourself, but they've done a really good job of creating some pre-made things for you. So I like to take the easy road sometimes and forget about doing the creating. So here we go. Here's two versions. We've got kind is cool, and then we've also got this kind is cool, which is a really cool one all by itself. Like you could just use that by itself and it will look really awesome. But I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to go insert. So you can find other words if you like, or you can even use the text tool and write your child's name or something like that. So now I just want to click on this and change the color so that I can see my two things a bit easier. So it doesn't really matter what color you make it. You can use the color to give you an idea of what it's going to look like in the end. So if you wanted to use like a purple sort of a shade infusible ink, you could do that. It's going to go on a white t-shirt. So if we get rid of this, then we get a bit of an idea of what it will look like. And then figure out where you want your words. Okay. And now we just need to slice. So it's as easy as that. So we're going to click and drag a box around both of these and make sure that both of them are highlighted here and selected on the right hand side. And now we're just going to click the slice button. And slice is like slicing a piece of bread. So you take something that is whole and we're going to cut a piece out of it, right? So I'm slicing my bread. I want to slice kind is cool out of my paint smear. So I click that button. And now we've got an extra few things going on here. So we've got the words that we originally had, and I don't want that anymore. So I'm going to click on the cross, and then I've just cut out a purple one, which is pretty cool, but I don't need that either. So I'm going to click on that cross, and then we're left with one single image that has the words cut out. So in this shirt, it's the white t-shirt that is actually showing through. I'm not using white infusible ink. So essentially this is just going to be the t-shirt, and then this purple is going to be your infusible ink sheet. So now all that we need to do is just size it up, and then we can get going. So my daughter is 11. So if you're doing a teen shirt, you can either use a ruler to measure it out, or if you have my Cricut Cheat Sheet book, you can use the Cricut Cheat Sheet book to find the right measurement. So I'm going to go with 8.5 here. There we go. And that's going to be a pretty good size. So you can also use the templates function, which is here. We have a whole entire separate video that shows you how to use templates if you don't know how to use it. So from here, I'm just going to click on Make It. Just as you would when you're doing HTV or iron-on vinyl, we need to make sure that this image is mirrored. So to mirror an image, you simply click on this little button here to pop it on. And then we're just going to click on Continue, and we're going to wait for it to connect to your machine. So make sure your machine is switched on, whether you have the Maker or the Explorer, or you can even do Infusible Ink with a Cricut Joy. All right, so, and once that's connected, we need to choose the base material, which is very easy because it's a Cricut material, so they will have it in their little list. So I'm just going to search for Infusible Ink. Infusible Ink. There we go. And we've got Infusible Ink Transfer Sheet, and we can click on Done. And so now it says, it reminds you to make sure that your mirror is turned on. It reminds you that your material has to be color side up. And we've got the pressure here, which I leave on default, and it's telling you what tools to load and that we need to load the mat. So let's get into the actual creating. Let's hop over and I will show you how to get this cut out and prepared so that we can pop it on the shirt. All right, so grab that green mat, get rid of the plastic that sits on top, grab the transfer sheet that you would like to use. Don't forget to make sure that your hands are clean and dry before you touch that transfer sheet. And then we're going to pop this one face up. Now, normally with iron-on vinyl, you would put it face down, but we actually want to have this one color side up. And that's why having the instructions next to you is so handy, so that you don't have to try and remember which one goes which way. I'm just having a bit of a look at the pattern as well to try and figure out what I would like the look of. And I'm going to use my brayer to get it down. My mat is a bit old, so it's not sticking very well. But I'm going to use the brayer to get it smoothed down because I don't really want to touch it with my hands too much. I don't really want any of my oils or sweat or moisture from my hands to get on this beautiful sheet. Okay, and then just make sure that you've got it nicely adhered there. If you've got a new mat, it probably won't be as hard as what I'm doing right now. And then just pop it into your cutter. So I'm using the Cricut Maker today, but you can do exactly the same thing on the other machines as well. And of course, all you need to do now is to sit back and let the machine do its magic. And off it goes. So let it cut away. Okay, so now that it's done, unload your mat. And what we're going to do is to remove this. Now we don't want to touch the front too much, so I'm going to flip over my green mat and I'm going to pull the mat from the Infusible ink. That way I'm only touching the back of this. I'm just trying to avoid touching as much as I can. And what we want to do now is to crack it. So you're not going to hear the crack sound because I'm doing a voiceover, but if you actually roll it up and squeeze it, you're going to hear it snapping. And that's just going to make it a lot easier for us to actually weed the excess away. Now, if you need to, you can trim down your piece of infusible ink. I like to just do it very quickly with my metal ruler and my self-healing mat and my rotary blade, but you can do the same thing with scissors. So you don't have to buy these tools just to do this if you don't want to. I just find it a lot easier and a lot faster to work with. There we go. So I like to keep all of these little bits and pieces. I know they're small, these offcuts, but you can do some really cool things on shirts, even with little hearts or stars or all sorts of little things. So I always keep hold of those. They go in my drawer of scraps. See, my daughter's trying to help me. And I'm just going to give it another squeeze because I can see that my where it's cut hasn't quite snapped away yet. So I've given it more of a squeeze to release those pieces a bit. And it's just going to make it easier to find where you cut in the first place and then to remove it. So I like to start off by removing the big piece around my image. So try and lift off the infusible ink from the liner, and I actually find this really, really tricky. It's not easy. I keep pulling off the top bit of the infusible ink and not everything, so you can see that I'm actually struggling here. But it's probably the only thing of about infusible ink that is a bit hard to work with. So just giving it a bit of a bend and a squeeze to see if I can release it from the liner a little bit there. Maybe you need nice long nails in order to be able to do it. Okay, here we go. So let's pull off the excess away, and you'll see what I mean. Like, I can just use my fingers and I can just pull it. It's got a very different feel to vinyl. So in a way, it feels a bit more like a thick paper. So just go around the edges and peel away all of the excess vinyl that we don't need. Now, this paint smear has got quite a few interesting edges. So take your time and go around it slowly so that we can get into all of those little grooves there. And then after you remove the excess from around your image, obviously we need to go and pick out the kind is cool wording from inside as well. So it's a lot faster to weed. You will notice that it's a lot faster to weed this than it is to weed vinyl. It's one of the things that I really love about infusible ink. And now we just need to find where those cuts are so we can pick out the inside. Oh, I missed a little bit here in the groove. Let me just pick that out. Yeah. It's my little handy bin. I like to have a bin on the table because otherwise I get messy. And I'll put all of my little bits and my pieces all over the shop on the floor on the desk. So this little bin saves me from having to clean up after, which I'm not very good at. So find all of those little bits and pieces inside. You can roll it around a bit to see where it lifts up. Makes it a bit easier to see because, as you can see, it's a bit hard to see where those cuts are. But because you can bend it and maneuver it, it makes it a lot easier. So just pick out all of those little paint grooves. So let's get to that middle bit. And you will notice that your words are going to be mirror. So remember that we actually mirrored the words. So it's going to be backwards because we need to put this face down onto the shirt so that it will actually read properly. So give it more of a squeeze. If you're struggling, just keep squeezing it, keep snapping it, keep cracking it to help it release. Beautiful. I think that's just about the last piece. Looking so good. I can't wait to get this on the shirt. Look at that. It looks awesome. It's going to be really, really awesome. And then we can actually get to popping it on the shirt. All right, so grab your cheat sheet and you can have a look at the t-shirts here. It tells us we need to do a 15-second preheat, a 40-second heat session at 385. And pressure needs to be light and it needs to be a warm peel. So grab your EasyPress, pop it on and set in your time. So we need to set in the time and the temperature. So get those dialed in. So the temperature was 385 and the time that we needed to do this at, first of all, is a 15-second preheat. So that's just on the shirt. It's not using your infusible ink. We just want to pull all of the moisture out of the shirt, get rid of the wrinkles from the shirt. Don't forget, if you have got the lint roller, to use it on your shirt, because I forgot to do that in my video. So grab your lint roller and just remove all of those lint pieces. So 15 seconds. I don't worry too much about the temperature being perfect at this point. It's really just to make sure that the moisture is out and the wrinkles are gone. And as you can see, I've got my shirt on the heat mat. So grab your infusible ink. Make sure that, as I said, it has to be smaller than the plate of your EasyPress. So make sure that it actually fits underneath your EasyPress. Now, I did make sure before I measured it that it was going to be a good fit. So now we need to check on the stacking order for infusible ink, and that's on the cheat sheet as well. So I've got a little photo here to show you how you can stack it up, but I've also got the words. So on the bottom, you need to have your mat. Then we need white cardstock. We need your t-shirt, your design face down, butcher paper, and then your EasyPress on top. So that's how we need to actually stack it up. It's quite a bit of a process. And I actually think that I forgot in the introduction to mention that you need a piece of cardstock. You can either use cardstock or you can use like 3 sheets of printer paper as well. So the cardstock is actually really just there to protect your EasyPress mat so that we don't actually get ink soaking through the shirt and all the way onto the mat. Because otherwise, next time around, we'll get that ink lifting off again. So place the cardstock or printer paper over your EasyPress mat, and then place all of that inside your shirt. So it's a little bit different to what we usually do when we're working with iron-on. All right, so once you have that sorted, you can either use a guide. Now I've got a really cool t-shirt guide here that you can use, or you can simply fold your shirt in half to figure out where the middle is. So this guide is going to help me figure out where the middle of my shirt is, as well as how far underneath the neckline I should have my design. So it's a very, very handy guide. The guides that I'm using is quite pricey. They are not cheap, but they are reusable. So once you have them for life. All right, now as you can see, the infusible ink is curling up because it's not sticky the way that an iron-on vinyl is. So I'm gonna grab some heat tape so that I can actually keep it in place. So heat tape can obviously handle heat. That's why it's called heat tape. It's different to normal sticky tape. So please don't use normal sticky tape because it will melt. So I can use my guide here to make sure that my design is straight, that it's in the center, that it's the perfect height underneath your neckline. But you can also measure all of that out as well. So I do have a cheat sheet as well. It tells you how many centimeters underneath the neckline I recommend it should be, and all of that as well. There we go. It's looking good. All right, next we need butcher paper. And the butcher paper is going to protect your EasyPress. So grab this. This came with your infusible ink sheets. So grab that from your box, and now we can get going. So the time has been set to 40 seconds, and remember that you should not move it. So we only need light pressure. You don't need to push very hard. So we only need light pressure, but you need to keep it still. If you move it, you're going to have what they call a ghosting effect, or you could have a ghosting effect, which is not what we want. If you do have the mini EasyPress and that's all you have, you need to make sure that you do not stop moving the mini press. So just keep moving it constantly over the design, backwards and forwards, but don't stop, because otherwise that section will be darker in color than the other sections. But I highly recommend that you have an EasyPress, one of the bigger ones, not the mini one, but it's doable with a mini one. All right, so there we go. So now that it's done, what we need to do is to grab our tweezers so that we can actually remove it. And it's really hot at this point. So remove your butcher paper and Grab your tweezers. And now we're going to reveal the magic. Check this out. This is going to be so cool. Look at that color. Isn't that insane? Infusible ink is just so cool. And there we go. That is pretty much done now. Right, so there we go. So you can see that the ink is in the shirt. It's not on the shirt. And I actually much prefer it that way. You can see the different colors that you can work with when it's infusible ink like this. And it just really looks beautiful when you wear it. So there we go. That's my daughter. That's Lily, and my little one whose hands you could see all the time, Avalee. And there's the shirt. So there you go, guys. What a big lesson and a big mouthful. A lot of talk in there. So I hope you managed to keep up. Otherwise, maybe it's a good idea to rewatch this video. Don't forget that you can access this SVG by clicking on the link below. You can grab the hashtag number for the paint swipe or paint smear down on the bottom. You can grab the links for the cheat sheets if you would like to use them. I have been crafting for a very, very long time. I still use my cheat sheets because I like to have it easy. So it's just easier for me to have it on the desk and I can look at them very quickly and remember what I'm supposed to do. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful time creating your very first infusible ink shirt with those transfer sheets, and look out for another video soon where I can show you some more tips and tricks when you work with infusible ink. Till next time. All right, bye for now.